Hi guys, welcome back to This Is Fiction. Today I'm going to be talking about Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. This is a spoiler-free review so you can stay the whole time and don't worry about getting spoiled. Basically, the plot of this story is that a young woman takes a job as a caretaker for a man who is paralyzed from the neck down. She ends up falling in love with this man, but the catch is that she has 6 months to convince him that life is worth living. The problem with this is that this main character, Louisa Clark, or Lou, has never really been outside the country. She's never really exposed herself to interesting, incredible experiences that her client Will was used to before he became paralyzed. So the challenge for her is really taking him on these adventures that he used to go on and convincing him that he can still do all of these things, that he can still enjoy life even if he is stuck in a wheelchair. So obviously this is a romance novel, and I think that it's one of the best romances that I've read, honestly. In addition to being a romance novel, it's also kind of an ethical conversation. You get to sit back and watch an ethical issue that's really prevalent in society right now be debated, and you get to look at it from both sides, and I honestly don't know where I stand on this particular issue. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm just gonna say that I don't have real preference on this right now because this story presented both sides so well, and it was obviously leaning towards one side more than the other, but I thought it was really interesting the way they framed the discussion, and it presented something that was more than a love story. It was bigger than just those two people. It's the whole world. But with all that aside, romance being a very small part of this novel in actuality, the characters were really the best part of the story for me. At the beginning of the story, you have these two mediocre characters, and by the end of the book you have these two amazing people who know exactly what they want from life and know exactly what they want from each other. The main character, Lou, she's so vibrant, she's so quirky, and she doesn't have long flowing hair or just the typical description of your female protagonist. She's different, she's unique, and you see that from the very start. It's not like a development, she just was like that. She's developed extremely well. She has obvious flaws, she has obvious insecurities, but by the end of the story you get to see her come to peace with some of those, and you really get to see her grow as a person, partly due to Will and partly because of her own conviction. And it's so cool, guys. This is such a good character development story, and I had so much fun watching Lou grow and become a better, bigger person. Her clothes are a really big part of who she is. She has a really quirky fashion sense, and she says that her favorite item of clothing is bumblebee leggings. And I kind of tried to channel her quirkiness by doing my hair in a way that I wouldn't normally, so I don't know if that really translated through the video, but that was what I was going for. So I was really entertained watching her be okay with herself. I mean, she was always okay with her fashion sense and with her inner quirks. That was always fine with her, and that's a really supportive message, I feel like, to be giving new adult audiences. On the other hand, you have the lead male character, Will Traynor, who is stuck in a wheelchair, and straight away you have a character who's totally different from whatever other romance novels you're probably reading. The greatest thing about Will is that the author doesn't define him as someone who's just stuck in a wheelchair. He has obvious other traits. He's portrayed to be funny, obviously sarcastic, he's adventurous, daring, bold. He's so many things, and none of those things fade just because he's in a wheelchair. Will also went over a huge character arc. You get to really see him and Louisa growing side by side that whole story, and I really think it was done beautifully. It was entertaining the whole time. There was not a single dull moment in this story. The author, Jojo Moyes, has this writing style where she's able to make the most mundane events, like literally sitting still in a car watching the night go by, seem poetic and beautiful and interesting. It makes contemporary life seem simultaneously beautiful and hideous, and it was so well done. It's just so unique. It's such a different book. It's such a different story. It really painted love in a positive light, and it was listed as a romance, but it's not really. I think that it's the kind of book that really changes your perspective on the way you're living your own life. It encourages people to live boldly, to not settle for mediocre things, to not just let your life slip by, just not to let adventures slip through your fingers, to go out there and really make the most of what the world has to offer you. It's an incredibly inspiring story. I was so impressed with this book. I went in expecting great things, but it was completely different from what I ever could have anticipated, and I had an amazing time reading this book and an amazing time thinking about it afterwards. So I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I think anyone who's interested in this, anyone who is intrigued by what I've been saying, should definitely go pick it up. I really think it's worth reading. Even if it doesn't sound overly interesting to you, it might surprise you. It probably will. It certainly surprised me. Thank you guys so much for watching this little mini review, and I hope you're interested. I hope you go pick up this book, and if you do, enjoy. Bye!